Welcome to Sojanguk Art Talk. Today's work from the Louvre is Paolo Veronese's painting, The Wedding at Cana. The reason we couldn't leave this work out of our tour is that it's the Louvre's largest painting. At 9 meters 94 centimeters wide and 6 meters 77 centimeters tall, this painting needs an especially big area to display it. Why is it painted so big that even hanging it is difficult? The reason is simple. This artwork was never made to be hung. This work, originally a decorative, site-specific wall painting, was forcibly removed, reframed, and moved to France to be hung in the same room as the Mona Lisa. Looking at the backstory, we can see this painting isn't one necessarily suited to the Louvre. So, when was this work made? And how did it end up in the Louvre? Let's take a look. Firstly, we should look at this place, Venice, Italy, the city of water. This unique city is made from 100 islands connected by countless bridges. This is the birthplace of The Wedding at Cana. The year was 1563, just after the Renaissance period. It was a time of hope, and so the glorious painting, The Wedding at Cana, came about. Should we take a look? First thing we noticed is, it's bright. Across the top, clouds drift lightly over a sky of light blue, and between them, we can see birds flying. We can feel the tranquility. Let's look closer. Below, we can see a crowd of people. Judging by the tables full of food, this is a celebration. The Wedding at Cana. There are 130 guests included in this work, all of them here to celebrate union of husband and wife. Have a look at their costumes. Surprisingly, there's a lot of variety in their dress. Usually, we would expect the outfits to be appropriate to the time, but not in this painting. Let's start at the bottom left. Here we can see turbans and splendid decoration, jewelry and feathers. These are wealthy guests from the east. And on the right, these people are dressed in the European style. We can see from their finery that they are wealthy. As you can guess, the Venice of 1563 had no shortage of wealthy folk. At this time, Venice was the center of trade between the East and the West, making it an extremely rich city and a world-famous trading port. So guests of various countries have been invited and come together in this feast of the rich and famous. But despite this, these guests' outfits don't seem very fancy. These people are wearing humble clothing from around 1,000 years earlier. So, how did they get their place at the center of the feast? Look a little closer. Over two of these guests' heads is a halo. These are holy people. That's right. Here are Christ and the Virgin Mary. It's a very special addition to this feast. The artist Paolo Veronese has placed his Venetian contemporaries alongside Jesus and Mary from a millennium and a half before. It's a brilliant idea. But what are his reasons for doing this? The Wedding at Cana is the story of Jesus' first miracle. Let's look at the Gospel of St. John, chapter 2, verse 1. On the third day, a wedding took place at Cana in Galilee. Jesus' mother was there, and Jesus and his disciples had also been invited to the wedding. That's what we can see in the picture. At the central table, Jesus and Jesus' mother, and next to them, his disciples. What else does it say? When the wine was gone, Jesus' mother said to him, "They have no more wine." "Woman, why do you involve me?" Jesus replied. "My hour has not yet come." Look at the painting. How is Mary's expression? She looks a little awkward. She's expecting miraculous wine, but her son has refused, and we can see there's an atmosphere now. Back to the Bible. His mother said to the servants, "Do whatever he tells you." Nearby stood 6 stone water jars. Jesus said to the servants, "Fill the jars with water." The master of the banquet tasted the water that had been turned into wine. Look back at the picture. See the servant pouring from the white jar into the golden jug? It's a dark wine color. A miracle has just occurred. Behind the servant is a man looking into his wine glass. Going back to the Bible, he is saying the following. Everyone brings out the choice wine first, and then the cheaper wine after the guests have had too much to drink. But you have saved the best until now. Look to the left. A young servant is offering Jesus' wine to the guests. Paolo Veronese received a commission for a painting of Christ's miracle, but he had a fresh take on it. The background tells us we are not in Galilee. This is a Venetian wedding. But what are the implications of placing Jesus and Mary in this setting? It may seem like a bit of fun, but it's a sensitive subject. Is it okay to experiment with religious iconography? But this was possible in this period. At the time, Venice was open in religious matters. As an international city, various cultures intermingled and there was an atmosphere of tolerance. So artists too felt a lot of freedom when making work. This work is filled with Venice's celebrities. This made the painting appeal to its viewers at the time. First, he drew himself. In the white clothes with the stringed instrument is Veronese. At this time, artists were celebrities too. He also drew his peers and role models. Here, playing an instrument known as a cornetto is Jacopo Bassano. With the violin is Tintoretto, and with the tall contrabass-like instrument in the red clothes, we can see Titian. Also appearing in this scene are Eleanor of Austria, Francis I of France, Queen Mary of England, Sultan Suleiman the Magnificent of the Ottoman Empire, Charles V of the Holy Roman Empire, and the noblewoman and poetess Vittoria Colonna. It was an extraordinary painting. In places, Veronese has hidden a little code. Little secrets that viewers can search for and find all over the place. How many can you find? From the rail on the second floor, we can see a dog poking out his head, looking at the banquet. On the table too, there is a small dog. It's staring at the guests. But why is he here? If we see the jars that Jesus performed his miracles on, we can see a cat lying, hanging onto one. This servant looks like he could step on his master's foot here. This work was made for a wall. It wasn't a work to be exhibited around. So the addition of fun little secrets was something to give the viewers new things to find every time. As people looked at the painting and found different meanings within it, it became a thing of legend and hearsay, and people from far around heard about it. But who commissioned this artwork? Was it an individual or a company? Wouldn't make sense to be an individual. Who would hang this in their house? It was made for a building used by many people, a church. Unexpected, this isn't exactly the most sacred artwork to display in a church. That's why it was placed in the monks' refectory. It was painted in the San Giorgio Maggiore in Venice. And so, while the monks were eating, they talked over the painting's contents. Because it was made in Venice, and because it featured celebrities of the time, the painting became a hot topic. Because of the popularity of the wall painting of San Giorgio Maggiore, other monasteries wanted their own artworks. And so Veronese became a man of some reputation. So lastly, how did this beloved painting find its way to the Louvre? As you probably could guess, these things usually come about from war. In 1797, Napoleon's army invaded the Republic of Venice. The Republic of 1,200 years was no more. Venice had announced its neutrality in order to avoid war, but that was just wishful thinking. At that time, Napoleon had his troops cut the wedding at Cana off the wall, roll it up, and transport it to France. It remained here until the present day, and until now, there are no plans to return the work, because the Venetian Republic doesn't exist anymore. But there was a time when Venetian artists and the Venetian school led the European art world. Those such as Titian and Tintoretto, who we can see at the wedding. Through rich colors and dramatic poses, they created some of the strongest religious paintings of the time. Those same colors can also be seen in the wedding at Cana. That's the story of the largest work in the Louvre collection, The Wedding at Cana. Next time, let's look at our 8th artwork. Have a wonderful day.
Nice to meet you. Everyone, it's time to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. See you next time.